Today, I'm giving my honest review of the Mitakon SpeedMaster 35mm T1.0 for MFT. And the cool thing about this lens is it's actually a cine lens. It's not really a photography lens, it's more of a filming lens. So I wanted to give a review on this particular lens because I've used it a few times in a few particular filming situations. I just thought I would tell you my thoughts on it and give you specifications on it, technically and also my creative thoughts on this lens. So stick around for this video if you're interested in learning about this lens. First of all, the weight of this cine lens is 1.4 pounds. It looks kind of small, but it's like a little over a pound, and it feels like it's a little over a pound. It feels it. It's definitely not super light, but it's also not super heavy. Like, it's not that bad, really. It has a filter size of 77 millimeters right here. It's got a little filter protector on it. This lens does not have electronic communications, which means that you have to control like the aperture on this little like glider thing, focal, what's it called? Zoomy thing here. You have to control, this is like the focal distance here, I believe. And then you have the aperture. So basically, this particular lens fits on a Blackmagic camera, a Panasonic camera, or a Olympus camera. And so it does not have electronic communication, which means that you cannot control the settings of this lens from the screen of your camera. You have to control it from the actual lens with these turning wheel things, which is actually totally like a cine camera. That's a cine lens feature, is that you control it on the lens and not the camera. This lens has 9 aperture blades. Fun fact, I guess, for you today. It is manual focus only, which means you have to use, again, the focus wheels to properly focus, which is probably this one. I think it's this big one here is the manual focus wheel. This lens does not have image stabilization, so keep that in mind. It might be better for still shots. Because the cine lens, that makes sense, because a lot of cine filming is going to be still shots. Not always the case, but most cine, in film, you pretty much, like, if you're going to be filming moving shots, you're going to be using like a rig or like a stabilizer, different fancy rigs to stabilize the image, versus the lens actually having image stabilization. Cine lenses normally do not. This one does not have it. It has a max aperture of 1, which is crazy, like all the way down to 1, like here. And on cine lenses, the aperture is actually, it's marked by a T instead of like an F. On like photography lenses, it's normally like an F. Cine lenses is actually a T. It stands for T-stop instead of F-stop. So that's very interesting to know about. So it has a max aperture of 1, and then it has a minimum aperture of 16, which means it can only go up to like 16, which is also very common for cine lenses. And then it has a minimum focusing distance of 1.2 feet, which I found this fascinating. Although, like, to be honest, I don't know a ton about cine lenses. Like, this is really the first one I've ever shot in myself, like for my business. It was just interesting to learn about how it had such a close focusing distance, because most photography lenses are like 3 feet or more. 1.2 feet, like, it's actually very similar to like a macro lens, which I made a video about the lens I use for my macro ring photography, and that is linked up there. That has a minimum focusing distance of 1 foot, but this has like 1.2 feet. So I thought that was very interesting when I learned that today. The mount for it, it has a micro 4/3 mount, so that's a little different. And again, this lens fits on Panasonic cameras, Olympus cameras, or Blackmagic cameras. Those are the 3 that I know it fits on. I use it on my Blackmagic camera. I have the Blackmagic Pocket 4K Cinema camera for filming when I film things. Although I'm actually not filming on that right now. I'm actually filming on my Canon R6 Mark II camera body with my 50mm lens, which if you want those videos, those will be put in the description too. I have videos on like all the things I use pretty much. Number 2 is distortion. I honestly don't think that this lens really distorts. I don't think it does. The other thing about this lens, it says that it has the focal distance is 35 millimeters. And I think I will talk about this a little later, but there's something, like, it doesn't look like 35 millimeters. And I think it's got to do with like the micro 4/3 mount. It looks more like a 70 millimeter and not a 35 millimeter. So something very interesting that I learned when I was using this lens. And I was like, oh, it's not actually a wide lens. It's more of a zoomed in lens. And that was fascinating to learn when I was in the middle of filming with it. For depth of field, I feel like it's really, really good, especially like if you're wanting to film like cinematic shots. I think it would create beautiful like depth of field because of the way the aperture is, or well, T-stop, let's call it T-stop because it's a cine lens. I think it would really create beautiful like film because of the depth of field that this lens can create if you know how to set up your shots correctly. That's the key, setting up your shots correctly in film. It's very different than photography if you think about it. Filming speed, honestly, it's probably pretty good. I'm not really sure, like, I mean, it keeps up with it and it's fine, I think. So I guess just make sure like all your camera settings are set properly in camera and everything. I feel like it's always capture what I need to capture really good. Fast moving subjects, I honestly, I'm gonna say maybe not good. I haven't really tested like filming fast moving subjects on this. I've only used this for like, maybe like just filming like a ceremony video or something like that. I haven't used it for anything crazy, so I'm honestly not really sure. So if you want to test it out, you can test it out. This lens is also, it's not very versatile in my opinion, because I feel like it just has a very specific uses of like it being a still lens for just capturing like a shot, you know, start to finish. And that's what I feel like it's really good for. The cost of this lens, you can get on Amazon for like $599. You can probably also get it other places. Let me see here. There's probably honestly so many other places you get it. Amazon, you can get it for like $599, I'm pretty sure. On Amazon, they have like different like mounts. Oh, it's interesting. They have one for like a Canon RF mount camera and then like a Fuji X mount camera. And then like the M43 mount camera, which I think is the micro 4/3 mount camera. And then they have one for a Sony FE mount camera. And they're all like either $599 or $449. So that's interesting. I actually didn't know they made all those different mount types, but I guess that makes sense. But that's pretty cool. So I don't know, maybe I'll just link that place where you can get that lens. I actually rented this lens through Lens Rentals. So that's another place you can get it. Like if you just need to use it for something small, which is like what I'm doing. I'm just using it for something small, so I don't need to like buy it. I just rent it for things when I need it, like literally probably like 2 or 3 times a year, and that's it. Thanks so much for watching this video today. My name is Jennifer Cook, and my husband and I, we are wedding photographers serving both Tennessee and Virginia, and occasionally we do some video production work here and there as well. And so this video was kind of a video to talk about one of the lenses I've used in my time with filming using Sony lenses and my Blackmagic camera. And so if you'd like to see more content like this, more like techie videos and creative videos about photography and video stuff, then please like this video. That tells YouTube's algorithm that this was helpful to you. And if it's helpful to you, I want them to know so that I can keep making more videos for you. So go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. And then you can also subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more helpful information and content from us. So let's get right back into the video because I know that you are anxious to understand and learn more about this particular lens. The overall look of the footage, in my opinion, is so good because so I film in RAW on my Blackmagic, and then with this lens, it just like I think it looks really, really good. So definitely overall look of footage from this lens is really, really good. And then, here we're gonna talk about the focal length. So the pros versus cons of the focal length. So it says on here that it's 35mm, but I think because it's a micro 4/3 mount, I think it appears more as a 70mm. So when you set up this lens on your camera and like focus it on something, it looks like a 70, it looks like more zoomed in, it looks like 70mm, not 35mm. And I can tell a difference between 35 and 70 pretty easily because 35 is wide and 70 is like zoomed in. That's the only downside to it is like, if you thought you were getting a wide angle lens, you're really not. You'd probably have to get like something like a, I don't even know what size they make it in, but you'd have to get something like a 17 or something around there to actually get the 35 look for the micro 4/3 mount, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's how that works. Honestly, the best use of this lens is really just like, in my opinion, just like filming a ceremony or filming something just still and like that you just need to film something for a long time with on your Blackmagic camera or Panasonic or Olympus, and you just want it to have a more cinematic look versus just video production look. So that's kind of why I have this lens. It was honestly just like a pretty affordable lens to rent to put on my Blackmagic camera just to film like a shot of the ceremony. So what is this lens good for? So again, I was just literally saying that. It's literally just like the ceremony and like filming. And I guess you could use it for other things you're filming too, like interviews, like really like whatever you want to film as like a simple cinematic shot. I haven't tested it out for like moving subjects and stabilization, all that stuff, so I don't know how it would do for that. So if you have any thoughts on how this does, you can write it in the comments and tell me how it does for like moving shots, because I'm actually curious to know about that. What is this not good for? Okay, this is pretty obvious. It's not good for photography. Don't try to go take photos on it. I actually haven't tried this, but I just don't think it'd work. But if you want to go try it and let me know in the comments, do it, because I'm curious. But I haven't done it really. Also, the brand is, I don't know if I can say this correctly, but it's like, it says like, it's like from Japan. So it says like Izongi. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I don't really want to try that hard because I really don't know how to pronounce this, but it's made in China and it's a cool cine lens. My favorite moment to film with this lens would be the first kiss, just because it's just capturing those ceremony, and so that's one moment that I thought about that would be fun to capture on this lens. What are the buying options versus renting options for this lens? So obviously I talked about how you could probably buy it through Amazon. Honestly, you could probably get it through Cage Camera. Let me actually look this up real quick here. So you can get this lens, you can buy it through BH Photo and Video. That's one place you can buy it from. eBay, I guess there's this place called AliExpress.com, but I've never really heard of that. Amazon, ZY Optics, that's interesting. That has a lot of options for that. But honestly, Amazon is always like the place I go to because it's where everything. But for renting options, you can rent this through Lens Rentals. That's actually how I have this now. And you can grab my discount code in the description of this video if you want to rent this lens out and try it for yourself. You can get like $25 off your first order using that Lens Rentals discount code. And yeah, just try it out on your Blackmagic, Panasonic, or Olympus, and write in the comments, let me know like how it worked for you and what you thought of this particular lens. Lastly, what are my overall thoughts on the Mitakon SpeedMaster 35mm T1.0 for MFT? So my overall thoughts is that it works really great for just filming a simple ceremony video, just like from the back. That's what I like to use it for if I get it. Who knows, maybe if Daniel and I start making short films someday, which we might do that at some point actually, short films, then maybe I would probably use this lens for that on my Blackmagic Pocket 4K cinema camera, because it really makes the image quality look really great and I really have liked it. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. And yeah, if you want to learn more about film, then you can go check out my video about my Blackmagic Pocket 4K cinema camera, and that'll be linked right up here.